This will be the equipment section for the L and U splint, which is just a posterior with a U for the lower extremity. You'll need the plaster. You can use the 4-inch or 5-inch. You can use slabs or rolls. You'll need cotton, scissors, gloves, ace wrap, and some tepid water. And of course a patient and a chucks pad. Then you're ready to go. It's going to be the padding portion for the L and U plaster splint. Of course, we have our demo patient ready to go. We will be using pre-laid rolls that we have already measured, and I'm going to be using stockinette. It, of course, is optional. You could roll it in straight cotton, but the stockinette does add an aesthetic appeal to splinting and casting. So if you have it, whether it's the white, black, or beige, I would highly recommend to use it. It also cuts down on itching for your patients. I did have some excess, so I trimmed off some toes. We also are using a foot stand. If you do not have a foot stand, you can use your thigh. Just tape a chucks pad onto your thigh, and then they can rest their foot there. If they're unable to because they can't get on the table, you can do that out of a wheelchair too. Just bring your leg forward, put a chucks pad there, and you can hold position. And worst case, of course, have somebody help you. We are cutting out the ankle crease on the interior side, because we do not want it bunching up there. The stockinette will bunch, so make sure to trim that out. And then line them up to this beautiful 90-degree position. Unless otherwise told by your provider, that is the neutral position for your ankle. We are going to use this 6-inch roll. I'm not sure why I decided to use that, but I did. Normally I would do 4. Fan fold a little bit of extra padding, though, into that calcaneal bone. Calc is a spot that they tend to rest it on, so fan fold like 3 to 4 layers and then roll it in. It's nice of you to do that so you don't risk pressure ulcers from them just sitting there on that plaster with only a couple layers of cotton. After that, it's 50-50 all the way to the top. Of course, all your endpoints. This is going to be a top endpoint, which the presumptuous measurement is just the 4 fingers from the popliteal area is our arbitrary quick measurement guide. Of course, you want enough where they can flex that leg without it jamming into the thigh. I'm putting in some extra layers there to make sure nothing bothers them. That's it for padding. Okay, so this is section 3, the plaster portion of the L and U splint. We have our patient set up on the foot stand. We're going to use cotton as our measuring tool. You could also use the plaster roll. Take the cotton from the metatarsal heads, that's one of our endpoints, and then 4 fingers, which is about 2 inches down from the popliteal or the back of the knee. And this is where you'll get your plaster L from, which is just a posterior splint, but with this splint we call it the L. You'll put it to the side, you'll fan fold out 15 to 20 layers for your L. I recommend doing 20, so it's a pretty sturdy L and it will hold, because if it breaks it becomes flimsy. Your second measurement is going to be the U. Again, do the 4-finger measurement from the popliteal, just bring it to the side. And the U represents your medial and lateral struts for the support of the malleolus. It could be a trimal fracture. We don't know what we're treating. Could be any kind of fracture, but you want that medial lateral support of the malleoluses on both sides of the ankle. Next, you can pick 5, you can pick 4, you can pick 3-inch plaster. Preferably for legs on adults, you're going to want to minimum do 4-inch with plaster, but you can use 5 if they're a bigger leg. Dip it, make sure your water is tepid. Wring it out good so you're not just splattering plaster everywhere, and let it leak. And then laminate it down. Once you get it laminated down, you'll come to the back. I usually do the top first because I just anchor it in place with 1 cotton. So just fold it, hold it, and then just do 1 anchor of this cotton just to hold it in place. I also will do a couple extra here later just because that's an end point and I want it to be nice and padded so it doesn't dig into the back of the leg. That's also why we bring it down to 2 inches, because we don't want it digging into the back of the knee or to the thigh. I'm going to anchor the bottom. You could technically roll it all the way in now and incorporate your posterior splint all the way, but that just adds an extra bulkiness to it that you don't need. You can just move on to the U for your medial lateral supports. Dip the U, again, it's going to be longer. Wring it out nicely and then laminate it. Make sure that you line this U up just like you measured it, medial-laterally. Do not bring it across the front or connect it. You are then making a cast. That is a mistake I see here and there. Do not connect this to the front. If you connect it, now you have made a point where it's going to be probably a cast, because the L, the U, and then the front will be connected in just one point. And then to get it off, you're going to need a cast saw once it's dried. Next, I'm going to anchor it in at the top again to hold it where I wanted for the splint for the medial lateral for the U. And then I'm going to go back to the bottom, make sure it's all evenly laminating down to the person. And then I will start tacking it distally to proximally, so working my way up. All this time they are on the foot stand. You could have the thigh. You got to maintain that 90. This is, of course, the set standard unless told otherwise by your provider. Or if you're doing a reduction type like Quigley's, of course, you'd be changing it a little bit because you'd be doing manipulation. You wouldn't need a foot stand. Then mold it down, and then you're done with plaster. Okay, this will be the fourth section, the fold and finish for the L&U plaster splint. When you're folding it down, make sure you're folding the padding individually and checking the endpoint edges. I'm checking that metatarsal head endpoint. I didn't like it, so I'm going to add a little bit more padding that I could fold back onto that plaster to make it softer for the patient. Even though this is a non-weight bearing splint, we do have compliance issues at times that people put it down, so you don't want that edge to be jagged or sharp. You want it well padded. If they do put it down, or if that edge is pushing on them, it's not going to dig in. Doing the same for the top, folding padding. Do not just yank down the stockinette. There's nothing worse than you can do is just yanking stockinette. You have a 50-50 chance whether that stockinette's going to yank your padding underneath your splint, and then your splint will have no padding above it, and then it is going to cause skin breakdown and tissue issues. So just fold it individually so you know you got that cotton over the end point. I use the double 4, which is 10 yards of ace wrap. That's what I recommend for all lower extremity splinting. L&U posterior, all of them, the bulky Jones. The double 4 works really well. You could use 2 4s or 2 6s, but the double 4 makes it all the way up. It's just really convenient and looks really nice. Remember, they're still on the foot stand, so my 90 degrees is actually being held by the foot stand. Plaster takes a while to dry, so I'm not too worried about the foot stand digging in. Plaster takes just initial setting is 10 to 15 minutes. So you have plenty of time to work, and then I think it takes like 12 to 24 hours to fully dry. So now we're going to do some molding. Make sure if you do molding around the malleolus or just molding that splint down, you do it with the palms and do not use your fingers. You do not want to indent it. I'm holding the rest of the position with my hand so that foot stand doesn't dig in or cause an issue at the bottom. You could also put them on the thigh with a Chuck's pad, but you want those toes open so they can wiggle them. Check cap refill. Make sure that everything's going good. Of course, I would need to hold this for the next 5 to 10 to make sure it is fully set before releasing the patient, and then you're all done.